thanks for tuning into this video, and it's going to be all about the internal family systems form of therapy, or IFS as you might have heard of it. Really just giving you an introduction and sharing my own experience of working with this therapy and giving a little bit of background about what it's all about. So I have just recently done an introductory immersion day into IFS therapy after finding out about it online. So I feel like I'm really excited to talk more about it and share my experiences of working with it and a little bit more about what it's about if you've put in IFS into YouTube and you found this video. Or you've just watching it and you're thinking, what's IFS? I've never even heard of that. So IFS therapy stands for Internal Family Systems, and it was founded by a guy called Richard or Dick Schwartz, an American family therapist in the 1980s. And it's basically a form of therapy that's based on his experience working with families and bulimic eating disorders in particular. And when we say internal family systems, that basically means is the internal family of thoughts and parts that are in our minds that we live with every day. I'm sure, I can just ask the question, have you ever felt like someone else or some element of your personality takes over? Or have you ever seen that in someone else where you're like, whoa, this person seems so different, like they've gone into a different whole space and a whole other part of them's coming out that I've never seen before. And we can often talk about our parts. So, part of me wanted to go and do that, but then another part of me was scared and afraid and I just couldn't do it. Or part of me really wanted to go for that new job, but part of me really didn't want to worry about change and experiencing change. So we often talk about parts of ourselves that can be positive, and then we can sometimes talk about parts of ourselves that we can see as being destructive or holding us back. So internal family systems about the parts or the family that live in our own minds, our own bodies and our own experience. So that's what you're working with when you are working with the IFS technique. So it's not family as mum and dad and husbands and friends and all of that sort of stuff. It's what lives inside of us. And in internal family systems, we are encouraged to accept all parts of ourselves and to tune in more to these parts and be curious about getting to know them and finding out what they're trying to help us with, what they're protecting us from, and where they've come from, how long they've been there, and enter into an inner dialogue with these parts, which might sound a little bit odd if you are new to this, but it makes sense. We all have an inner dialogue already with ourselves. We're all talking to ourselves all day. Oh, you shouldn't have eaten that chocolate. Oh, you're such a loser. Oh, you could have done better in that. Oh, why didn't you say that? We've already got this inner dialogue going on inside of us. So IFS is just a more more of a framework to work within, more of a defined framework and modality to tune in to those parts of ourselves. So what happens in internal family systems is that we begin to recognise, so we may present with some issues or some discomfort or something that we want to work through in our lives. We can use internal family systems on a day-to-day basis or with a therapist, a trained IFS therapist, and we can basically close our eyes or leave our eyes open and just tune in to those parts of ourselves that we're experiencing. And we can either go into the therapy with a specific part that we've already identified that we're having some issues with. So that might be anything from the part of us that's an inner critic, a part of us that's perfectionist, a part of us that's numbing out by overeating or is having issues with undereating and eating disorders. So there are many, many different things that the IFS technique can help with. And if we haven't identified a problem, we can just tune in, we can just sense into our body and think, I'm feeling agitated, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling anxious. Where's that coming from? What's that about? And it's just being curious and listening to our own intuition and what's going on inside our own bodies to discover and find out more about what it is that different parts of ourselves are bringing up. And once we've connected with a part, whether we've just discovered a part or we've come into it with a part in mind, we can begin to enter into a dialogue with that part. And it could be, so without complicating it too much, within IFS, so you have your self, like your authentic self, your soul, your higher self, this sort of self energy that is our pure light that we're born with, which is exactly who we are in all our purity, in all our authenticity, and that lies at the heart of us, and that never goes away. But over time, through childhood and different experiences, we get layers and layers and layers of experiences and traumas and difficult things that happen to us in our lives that then cover over and blend and stop us from often being able to connect with that self energy, or it's hidden from us. And so when those things happen, parts of ourselves that were part of this self energy and this centeredness then have to take on roles to protect us. They're doing everything they can to keep us safe, to make us survive, to protect us from the dangers and the pain that we've experienced. And that pain and those experiences go into exile, and the protectors step in. And the protections are these parts of ourselves that can be the perfectionist part, or the inner critic, or, like I said before, the part that numbs out and watches box sets on the TV, or the part of us that drinks too much when we're stressed. And all of these parts are stepping in, and we have, without making it too complicated, there are managers and there are firefighters. And all of these parts are just protectors who are taking on roles to basically do their best to keep us safe and to stop us from ever having to experience that pain and trauma that we have put into exile and we've hidden away, and we're like, we need to never go there again. So we build up a lot of these parts over time, and none of the parts are bad. They're all so good in their intention, even if their actions may be causing negative things in our life. These little parts that you can connect with inside yourself are really just trying to protect you and help you to live and survive and get through life. And I think what often happens is there are these parts of ourselves, and then there's another layer and layers on top of that we dislike these parts, and we get angry at our inner critic, or we get really annoyed that we have to be such a perfectionist and the effect it has on our lives. And then when we get angry with these parts and we enter into this battle and we're at loggerheads with them, we then can't connect with them and get to know them and understand them and let them feel seen and heard. Just like when someone's in distress, a child or someone in your life, and you're trying to connect with them and talk to them, often the more angry we get and the more we push at them, the more they close up and won't open up to us, and we get further away from a solution. And it's the same with these parts inside ourselves, that if we can just take the time to connect and to recognize that these parts have been doing these jobs for us often for a long time, since we were very young, and they are just trying to keep us safe. They are often overtired, they know that they're disliked, and because of that they get aggressive and they get even more bedded in and even more vicious. So it really is amazing when you do the IFS therapy and you get to experience it, when you connect with these parts and you tune in, like how amazing it is to be able to give yourself some space and self-care and enter into it with curiosity and just wanting to get to know those parts and seeing if we can have a kinder, more empathic attitude towards those parts of ourselves. And I think that's what I've really learned through internal family systems so far. And the great thing is, unlike some other talking therapies, I find this to be very immediate. Like, there's no beating around the bush, we're going straight in and we are tuning into our own intuition and our own experience, which gives power to the client or you as an individual practicing this, that you can really tune in on your own or with the support of a therapist and work together with these parts. And it's very immediate, and you can see results and your experience change so fast, and you can be tuning into it all day. Like just this morning I woke up about 3 a.m, 4 a.m, and I felt this anxiety and this panic about things that are going on in my life. Normally I'm a great sleeper, and I just felt like, oh God, I'm going to be awake now until about 7, and I'm going to have an awful night's sleep again a few nights in after having a few bad nights. But because I'd done the IFS work, I was able to just say, okay, I just tuned in and I thought, what part of me is this coming from? Where's this part that's woken up and is really stressed out? You know, if I just get angry with this part, it's not gonna respond and let me go back to sleep. So I was able to enter into a dialogue with this part in my mind. Obviously I wasn't chatting this through verbally out loud, but I was able to enter into it and just reassure it that, you know, it was the middle of the night and nothing bad was going to happen, and I was there and I could hear and understand that it was scared and it was anxious, and just encourage it really, just to say, we can pick this back up in the morning and I'm here for you, and let's try and just go back to sleep and be calm, because nothing that you're worried about is going to happen now. Everything's safe and it's okay, and you're going to be able to deal with everything much better if we can sleep. And just like that, I went straight back to sleep, because I'd given that part of me that had woken up inside that space and that reassurance, just like a child waking up in the night. And because of that, I was able to soothe myself back to sleep. So that's just a kind of a way that this therapy can infuse. It's not like sitting down doing an hour's therapy and that's all there is. It's infusing it throughout the day, and I think that's the power of all therapies. But the IFS therapy feels particularly kind of easy to connect with and easy to tune into. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about IFS therapy. As I say, Dick Schwartz is the founder. He's got some amazing talks, which I'm going to post links to below. I'll also post links to the IFS website if you're interested in doing an experience day. You don't have to be a therapist or training to be a therapist. Anyone can go and experience the kind of amazing benefits. There's also some great meditations and experiential things that you can do supported online by Dick and other practitioners. So I'm going to post links to everything below. If you want to give it a go, if you're curious about getting to know the different parts of yourself and having a better relationship with them and seeing if that can help you move forward, I really hope this video has helped, and I will see you next week for another video. Okay, thanks guys, bye.